Up, Benfica Nation? What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 112 of Mr. Benfica. I am your host, Mr. Mike Agustinho, and it has been a little while, but I am back tonight, and I know it's been a bit since we've had these matches, especially the first match we're going to talk about. And there's so much to talk about. You guys have been asking me what I think and what I think about this and that, and it's about time that I can finally carve out the time to record this episode. Special hello to everybody watching live right now, whether you're watching on Periscope on my Twitter feed or you're watching on Mr. Benfica YouTube channel. If you're watching, subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching on Facebook, hello to everybody watching there on my Facebook as well. And of course, everybody watching at www.mrbenfica.com. All right. It's been, like I said, almost a week, and it's time to talk. It has actually been a week since the Clásico, and there's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack. I've listened to a lot of you. I've listened to a lot of the other commentary going on out there. There's a lot of differing opinions on what's going on, so I'll start to unravel it and give you what I thought. A lot of you guys were interacting with me during the match, which was cool, and we've got a we got someone in the chat. It's Josh, and yes, Sporting have won 23 titles. Yeah, let's start with that. All right. We got 23 titles for Sporting according to them, and they've actually filed papers to the league or to the federation to recognize these. But here's the best part of this is what they're doing is they're trying to incorporate the old Campeonato de Portugal as the league. Okay, the Campeonato de Portugal. So, the Campeonato de Portugal was a competition that was a predecessor to the current league. So, that was not a league. What it was a championship between the champions of different districts, of different local FAs, and they played a small championship at the end of the season to decide a national championship. Yes, Sporting have won 4 of those. Benfica won 3, I believe. But the best part is that there's other clubs that can now call themselves former champions. Belenenses would now have 4 championships, not Belenenses. Belenenses, okay? CF Belenenses would have 4 championships now, not the one that they think they have. So they're going to have a party in the Castelo, no doubt about that. Oianis down in Algarve, they're going to be crowned champions of like 1932 or something like that. I don't have the years in front of me, but they have a championship thanks to this competition. And the best of all, the historic club that is Carcavelinhos. They are the champions of 1928-29, according to this. You want to know what's the best about Carcavelinhos? They folded in 1942. Resurrect that club because they need their parade. They are champions of 1928-29, thanks to Sporting in their petition to include these titles as titles. Why stop there? Benfica won the Latin Cup. That should go in their Champions League record. So now we have as many Champions Leagues as we have more Champions Leagues than Portugal. We should file the same exact petition to UEFA. So there's that one more time. Josh Marsal there, good guy, one of my Twitter friends, and always has good stuff to say about Benfica. Always has good insight, and he's right. Sporting 23 titles in their own math. Great math. All right. Speaking of that, basketball today, guys, before we get into it, what a disaster. I am glad that the season is over. Basketball gets swept by Sporting in the semifinals, 3-0, and today was an absolute blowout. And once again, Luis Felipe Vieira and his cronies have built quite a staff and destroyed another one of our sports. Let's move on. All right. We got women's football this weekend. I'm excited because Benfica is traveling to play Condeixa. That means in the next episode, in episode 113, we'll have we'll be talking about the derby from Saturday, and we'll also be talking about the women's team who will play this weekend. They're 1 week away from their derby, which will decide the championship of the Liga BPI. So good luck to the ladies this weekend. All right. Let's get right into the news. Normally I take a little break, but we're going to get right into the news, okay? Benfica hockey is going to play this weekend against Sporting. It's Sporting and everything now. This one, though, is the European League semifinal, and it's funny that you call it the European League because it should be called the Iberian League, because this year only Portuguese and Spanish teams entered. A grand whopping total of 9 to be exact. It's an all-Portuguese Final Four. Benfica playing Sporting and Porto playing OK Barcelos. 2 winners will meet in the final. There's that. Okay, so let's talk about the Clásico. All right, the news is short and sweet. Also, congratulations, Benfica women's basketball champions, and that is an upset. They upset Sportivo in the Azores last week, and they won 3-2, if I'm not mistaken. They pulled off the upset, and the federation even brought the trophy, which is more than the volleyball federation could do. When Benfica men's volleyball won the championship in the Azores, the federation didn't even take the trophy. They didn't want to pay to ship it, I guess. I don't know, something along those lines. But Benfica women's basketball have won the championship 3-2. They won in the deciding game against União Sportivo in the Azores. Congratulations to those girls. They were just promoted, like the last season that completed. They were just promoted to the first division. This is not a Benfica team this is a fully amateur Benfica team. And I have to tip my hat to all the women's sports this year, because they have carried this club. They have brought home all of the silverware. Okay, they've brought it all home this year. The men's teams have all dropped the ball in one way or another. And, well, you guys are here for my talk on football and on the Clásico. I'm going to pull that up right now. I'm going to share this screen with you guys so you can see some of the results from this weekend. We're going to talk about round 31 first. It's Benfica versus Porto, but elsewhere in the league in round 31, you see here Gil Vicente win 1-0 on the road at Madeira. Passos Ferreira and Sporting Braga draw 1-1. Sporting had beaten Rio Ave 2-0. Moreirense and Nacional tie 2-2. Belenenses sad with another victory. They keep they're beyond fighting for safety now, and they're pushing, and they have an outside spot at that Europa Conference League spot. And anytime Portimonense loses, it's good with me. There's Benfica and Porto. We'll talk about that in a moment. Farense and Vitória Sport Club 2-2. Famalicão and Santa Clara. Famalicão comes out 1-0 winners, but it's not over yet for Santa Clara. They're 2 points behind Vitória Guimarães right now. Boa Vista and Tondela 1-1, and Passos Ferreira and Marítimo. Apparently, Passos Ferreira played twice here. It's only supposed to be by round, but hey, this is the Portuguese league. It's possible to play 2 games in 1 round. But there you see the draw 1-1. Okay, let's get into Benfica versus Porto, and we're going to go into the lineups in just a moment. I'm going to bring you back. All right, the lineups, and I have the goal point up, so why don't we just go to that first to look at the lineups, even though I normally go to the goal point last. This goal point is starting to disagree with it a lot. I don't think I like the formula it uses. I'm liking SofaScore a lot more lately, but this has the lineups on it, so it should be on your screen now. Of course, if you're listening on the podcast, you can't see this, so you're gonna have to just listen as I give you. I guess we'll go through the ratings as well while we're here. And we've got Marquezine in goal. We'll start with Porto. They're 11. Marquezine is in goal. As you can see there, Sergio Conceição, of course, is their manager, even though he's supposed to be suspended. But this guy, there's really no ramifications for what he does. Manafaz, the right back. Mbemba and Pep in the center, and Zaidu Sanusi, the left back. Luis Diaz, Uribe, Sergio Oliveira, and Otavio make up the four-man midfield. Marega and Taremi up top. Benfica return to the 3-5. It's a 3-5. It's actually a 3. It's like a 3-4-3, but with a little more dimension, but that really didn't come off in the match. It many times formed into a 5-3-1, but it is Elton Late in goal. You've got Diogo Gonçalves on the right side, Lucas Verissimo, Otamendi, and Vertonghen, the three center backs with Grimaldo playing down the left. Weigl and Pizzi in the center, and then Everton and Rafa slightly ahead with Seferovic in the striker role. Seferovic still a candidate for the Golden Boot this season, and I've got notes here, so I'm pulling them up for this match. And you can see the player ratings there, so you can see who was better. It all depends on. Here's the thing, okay. I've heard a lot of the analysis. I've heard a lot of the opinion on the match. Yes, this is a big thing right here. Benfica's XG is 0.3, but that's only because their chances and their penalties were called back due to VAR. We'll get to VAR in a few minutes because I'm sure that is going to come up. But this game was far from the one-sided game that Porto's assistant manager Vitor Bruno claimed to watch when you see him in the flash interview. It was not a good match by any means, but did anybody really expect a good match from these two teams? When was the last time we really had a good football match between these two teams? Nor do I think that's, these two teams are really capable of that kind of match. But unfortunately, what I'm hearing a lot of and what I'm seeing and reading a lot of is that people wanted to see a romanticized version of Benfica, the Benfica they grew up with. Well, the Benfica I grew up with looked a lot like this. I mean, except even more timid, even more submissive to this team. So I thought that the only way to beat them was to do what we did. It didn't come out right, okay? It didn't come out well, but I think the approach was correct. No, not to enamor the supporters, not to revitalize the club, but to get out of there with the best result possible. I think they took the approach they had to take. I said in the pregame show, and thank you to everyone who watched the pregame show live, all right, last Thursday. I went live a half hour before the match. To everyone that watched that, I want to thank everybody. I had a real good time with that, and I really enjoyed doing it, and it was different. Going live is something that's out of my comfort zone, okay? This is not where I normally do this. I usually do this in a recorded setting with a lot of takes, if you will. Okay, I usually do this with a lot of takes, with a lot of segments put together. That's usually the style. So to go live and to throw out my format like that it was actually anxiety provoking for me. I hadn't done that before. So I really enjoyed doing it, and it came off. I was happy with the finished product. I hope you were as well. And it had a pretty decent viewing. So as I say that, we get into this match now, and I have not hit record yet for the audio. So I'm going to do that right now and get the old podcast recording for everyone that's listening on the podcast. Their podcast starts right now. So Benfica come out with an attempted 3-5-2. A lot of times they lose their shape, okay? A lot of times Benfica still aren't making the runs to the right space. Defensively, the players are still unsure of where to cover, who makes the step, who drops, when to drop, when to step. And I think that was made so apparent in the goal that we surrendered. But when you look at it early on, okay, and I'm going to go through the ticker now that I've given you guys the lineups. Early on, Benfica come out well, I think. I think they started. The first 10 minutes was actually good from Benfica. I said I wanted to see Benfica possessed for 40 to 45% of the time. I did not want to see Benfica with the ball all the time. I know a lot of fans, that's the Benfica they want to see. We don't have that kind of team. And this Porto team is so dangerous on the counter, especially down our left side. And if you're in the chat right now, feel free to tell me what side their goal came from. It came from our left. Okay. Yes, off of set piece, but still, that left side bleeds goals this season. And not just this season, going back to last January, going back to when things started to completely flip on their head, when Bruno Lage's streak ended, and all of a sudden we lost control of this thing. Benfica bleed goals out of that left side, okay? Unfortunately, a big problem is because Grimaldo's defending is atrocious. We see a moment in the first half where he has Marega dribbling out of bounds and saves him by fouling him for no reason. Okay. I do note, though, in my notes here, in the first 5 minutes, Porto have 4 fouls. 2 of them are hard ones with studs showing by none other than Otavio. Okay. Otavio fouls Weigl twice, showing studs. Keep that in mind. As we know, the referee was Artur Soares Dias. And as could be expected, there was graffiti at the referee's training center before this match threatening Artur Soares Dias. I don't care which team supporters did that. There's no place for that. And I'm going to criticize the referee, okay? But I'm not going to, condone threats. I'm not going to condone the absolute culture we have for football in this league and in our country and in our clubs, even and in our rivalries. It's so toxic. It is so toxic. It's exhausting. We can't even enjoy a match because of the threats. I talked about it in the pregame show. There's insults hurled by an official communications department of that club. Ours just stays silent. We have 2 polar opposites in these 2 clubs. We have one club that doesn't know when to shut up, and the other club that stays silent all the time. You know which one we are. So Otavio picks up 4 fouls in the first 5 minutes. Sorry, he picks up 2 fouls, but Porto have 4 fouls, all of them hard. None of them are soft. They don't waste a foul. I've said that, and this is why I wanted to see Benfica win the foul battle, but Soares Dias made sure that wasn't going to happen because he used 2 different criteria. And this is not an excuse for the result. Benfica's play was poor for the most part. I said the approach was probably the best they could do because they're not going to go out there and they're not going to pass circles around Porto and open holes and create, chances with possession. They needed Porto to come forward in order to create chances. The last 10 minutes of the match are proof of that. More or less, Benfica held the game where I had said I wanted to see it. More or less. I mean, they did get exposed wide. Again, Grimaldo especially is just not a good one-on-one defender. And in fact, a big problem with this club and a big problem with this team, this plantel, or as Jorge Jesus says, o elenco. He uses the Brazilian word elenco. The cast, the elenco means the cast, is very few of them have any defensive one-on-one abilities or one-on-one defensive abilities. Very few of them. We get beat on the dribble far too easy. We overcommit every time. That's why we gave up a goal, okay? That's one reason we gave up a goal is because of the overcommitting, okay? Benfica just and they couldn't resort to fouling in this game. I think Soares Dias saw a video of the last time we played, and he wasn't going to allow that to happen the way we were able to do it. I thought the last one was the best officiated match between these 2 teams that I can remember because they let him play. This one, that was not the case. There was a criteria for Porto and there was a criteria for Benfica. And unfortunately, our club has nothing to say about it. No, I'm not saying our club should do what Jota Marques does. That guy's a disgrace and should be serving a lifetime ban from football. He's done enough to be banned. Okay? No, I'm not saying that. We could start just by having our president show up for the match. Or at least issue a statement as to why he's not there. That would help. Ever since he won the election, the guy's gone into hiding. He got what he wanted, and now he's backing away and letting those who defended him, okay, including Rui Costa, including Jorge Jesus, including every moron that goes on to BTV to defend him, Pedro Guerra. He's letting them take all of the brunt, and he's hiding away. Yeah, he's got his own problems, as you know. Okay, as has been in the news this week. I'm not going into that. Okay, that is his personal problems, his personal business. Yes, it has to do with us because he's the president, but that's way out of my area of jurisdiction. I'm not going to comment on that. He's got his problems, but clearly his mind is not on Benfica, and he's probably in, he's in some hot water. So again, congratulations to the 63%. All right, congratulations. You guys did great. And for the first time, I do have to say during this match, for the first time, I was referred to as from somebody, you in the 36%. How are you? I was asked how me, myself, and my 36%. I was flattered that this person thought I have that kind of influence, that they're my 36%. No, they're not mine. I'm just one. How we were going to blame JJ. Sit tight, okay? I'm not going to blame JJ, but JJ has there's a lot of blame to go around to everybody, but JJ made a key mistake in this match, and I heard it defended on BTV. Okay, I saw those commentators in the postgame completely covered for him, completely tried to back him up. Okay, even Elder Conduto on the call, because when I watched the match live, I watched it in English on Gold TV because my new friend Nino Torres was calling the game. And I have to apologize for what I said about him when he got all excited about Porto and then got all mad about their goal being called by VAR. He reacted the same exact way in this match when we were on that shoes. He was just as upset that the goal didn't count. The guy just loves football and hates VAR, I think, or just doesn't like the way VAR is utilized, and that's where I am. VAR could be good, but it is so poorly utilized, especially in Portugal. But getting back, okay, I watched this a second. I've watched it more than twice now, actually. I have watched this match in bits and pieces almost every night after work since the match was played. Okay, Elder Conduto starts, and I know this is a producer in his ear. This is not him speaking freely. Him and Rogério Matias start right away to start explaining when JJ makes that substitution. They make sure you know exactly why that substitution had to be made, even if you disagree, okay? Because I think they know, like I knew when that substitution was made, that this wasn't going to end well. And this is not a knock on the players. I've come to realize that this is not a knock on the players. You cannot start to ask players to do things they are not capable of. When that becomes it, the burden is on the manager. And man, have some JJ lovers come at me in the last week. Oh, it's the COVID. Oh, it's the club was never going to keep all those youth. If we played youth players, we'd lose. We don't have the money to compete in the market. We always have to overspend. I've said all of these things myself. Okay, yes, but at the end of the day, the product on the pitch needs to be better. He has had now 9 months. September, October, November, December, January, March, April. We're into May. 9 months. We're in month 9 with JJ. And that's just in official matches. We're in month 9. And this team is still without an identity, is still not playing to its potential, is still not played a full 90-minute match. As a result, we watched our noisy neighbors lift their first trophy in 152 years this week. No, I'm kidding. It's only 19. And I'll get to one of the things I've been asked a lot since yesterday. I'll get to that. Hopefully I don't forget. I have kind of a scatterbrain when it comes to some of these things, but I hope I don't forget. But I will get to some of you questions that you guys have put out for me. I will get to it at the end here or before we move on to the Nacional match. But coming back to this match, okay? There's plenty of blame to go around, but I thought Benfica had to see a little less of the ball. And I know that's unpopular, but if the object of the match is to win, give yourself the best opportunity to win. You're going to get opportunities when Porto take chances. And they can't take chances if you have the ball all the time. They're waiting for you to mess up. Yes, it's an anticlimactic version of football. You can call it what you want, anti-football. It's not anti-football. It's a strategy. It's a legitimate strategy. We do not have Aymar, and we do not have Saviola, and we do not have Ramirez and those kind of guys to just take it to them the way we could in 2009, 2010. Okay? We don't have that team. Part of the problem with Pizzi, and everybody hates on Pizzi, and he's by far, he's far from being any perfect player. But the problem with him is that he's not any of those guys I just mentioned. Yet we want that from him. We expect him to play out of position a lot of times. He's a player that belongs in the box. Let this game be proof of that. He's a player who belongs in the final third. He gives you very little defensively. He gives you very little in terms of box to box and in terms of like they say in Portuguese, pulmão, lungs. He gives you very little work rate. That's not his game. But we're asking him to be a true 8 because we don't have a true 8. And as much as I have blasted Adel Taarabt, it's not his game either, and it's not fair to him to expect him to play that way either. That's why he can't play 90 minutes, because we're asking him to do something that's not in his DNA. And you can't, no matter what any coach wants you to believe, you cannot train that type of player to be a freak of nature and conditioning wise. Not everybody can just train and get more stamina and more endurance and become this fitness machine. Some players, when you push them that way, they get injured. Clearly, Adele gets injured. And JJ said as much. He blamed it on his fasting. No. It's just a lack of foresight. And it's a lack of an individualized plan for each player to get the most out of that player. JJ's old school. There's a lot that's good with old school. But in the new school, you got to be more scientific, bro. You got to be more scientific. You have to manage players' fitness much better. You can't ask them to do things that they are not necessarily capable of doing and expecting good results. And I think that's where this team has been for some time now, for this season, going back to the collapse last season, asking players to do more than what they can do instead of building a team with players that have the attributes you want. Because if the players don't have the attributes, you can't play that way. You have to evolve. You have to adjust. And I know JJ hates playing this 5-3-2, and a lot of people hate seeing it. But we can't play a 4-4-2 with this team. We don't have a true holding midfielder. We don't have a true box-to-box. Weigel's doing what he can, but he's out of his element as well. He's still adapting to that role. He's not the sit in front of the back four type midfielder. And a lot of people think you don't need that. But when you bleed goals like we do, and you have the efficiency of what we have, you do need that. You do need more strength, and you need more protection for your players. That's why we had to go to a 3-man back line. It's not because it's a stylistic decision. It's not because it's pretty or because it's, because it is to some extent because we now have 3 central defenders, but it also is more out of necessity to protect that portion of the pitch because our outside backs are not defenders. Now, Diogo Gonçalves has evolved and grown into maybe our best overall player right now, performance-wise. Okay? Maybe our best and most consistent overall player as a wingback. I think we've got another one. And we need a left back. At this point, Grimaldo doesn't cut it anymore because in these big games and in European games, he gets eaten alive on the dribble. All right, I have gotten so far off the point. Let's get back to this match into specific instances. There is a clash of knees in the 8th minute that was worrisome. Vertonghen and Marega both go down. Porto's bench goes crazy on this play, looking for a penalty. Is there anybody watching this match that didn't know exactly what Porto was going to do? Now, I said it on the pregame show. I literally picked Benfica's 11 without any thought. It took me all of a couple of minutes. Um, there's no thought at all into it. So obviously, Sergio Conceição knew Benfica's 11. Porto was a little more iffy because you had players dealing with some injuries and looking to get back from those injuries, and you had players suspended or whatever. So Porto had a few more question marks than we did. Was anybody surprised that Porto were A, going to look for penalties, B, we're going to foul hard? I said that was going to happen. I said we had to match them. We did not match them in intensity. I think we matched them in terms of approach, but I think our intensity had to be pulled back because the referee was a lot more strict with us, and we were booked a lot more than they were, obviously. 14th minute, we finally get a yellow card. I wrote this down here, okay? And it takes an absolutely criminal challenge from behind by Sergio Oliveira on Everton. Absolutely no attempt to do anything football-wise but to take him down for Soares Dias to finally produce a yellow card for Porto. That was their 6th foul, okay? 15th minute, and Otávio, I mentioned him already. He should have already been in the book. Once again, now he stamps on Vertonghen. This is his 4th foul, his 3rd stamping in 15 minutes. 15 minutes, Otávio comes down with his studs, stamps on a Benfica player 3 times. You think he got booked? No, he gets his 3rd warning from Soares Dias. Soares Dias gives him his 3rd warning. 2 sets of criteria. 18th minute, Rafa is kicked. This time, albeit it's unintentional. However, still a foul. Okay. By an already booked Sergio Oliveira. And I would have liked to see Benfica kind of asking for it a little bit, trying to they're not going to get the call, but pressuring Soares Dias a little bit. Because what happens with these referees is they get all the pressure from one team. They're so much more likely, when in doubt, to go with that team. You need any proof of that, look at the final minute of the game. In the final minute of the game, the referee's face said it all when VAR bailed him from what he thought was his certain doom. 20th minute, and Porto is showing what they do best. Mbemba plays a perfect ball into space. This was a beautiful ball from Mbemba. I had to give credit. This is their game. It's fast and it's direct, and they use their speed and they use their power. Mbemba plays it into space, in behind, guess who? Grimaldo. Because that space is always open. That is an expressway down our left. And he plays right into the run of Marega. Marega does this run all the time against us, okay? Taremi, when he played for Rio Ave, did the same exact run. Now that he's on Porto, his run goes to the other side. But it's the same run from the center to our left, to his right, into the gap behind Grimaldo. Goes and gets the ball, and it's one-on-one against Vertonghen, okay? And Marega runs in. Okay, he outpaces Vertonghen, and then he drives across the face of goal, right onto Taremi's run. But the Iranian makes a complete mess of it, and perhaps Lucas Vinicius may have gotten just enough of a touch on it to redirect it. He could have very easily redirected it into his own goal, but he managed to change the trajectory of the ball just enough to get it out of the reach of Taremi's foot. And instead hits Taremi higher on the leg, and it pops straight up into the air. And Elton is able to just scoop it up. Should have been 1-0 to Porto at that point. It should have been 1-0. No question about it. And, one of the commentators and one of the analysts I like most in Portugal is Blessing Lamengo. Okay, Blessing Lamengo used to work for Lateral Esquerdo. Okay, used to write and talk on their podcast and write for them. And I love Lateral Esquerdo. It's a soccer geek's dream come true. And now he works for TSF Radio. He works on RTP. He comes on through the talk sometimes. And he's their tactical guy. He breaks down and he calls Taremi the best forward in Portugal. And, well, I have a hard time coming up with a name that's better than him, but he's not, that doesn't say much because he's got to score this goal. No question at all. He has to score this goal. The net is open. He's in behind. Even if Verismo gets the slight deflection on the ball, slight deviation, a top, maybe not world class, but a top level international striker like Mehdi Taremi has to finish it. Fortunately for us, he did not. And I think he's just a bit overrated. Maybe he's the best forward in the league, but that's because there are not good forwards in this league. Look who's leading the league in goal scoring right now. Okay. And how many opportunities he has squandered, how many opportunities he takes to get the ball in the goal. So we stay 0-0. But then in the 23rd minute, this is what I wanted to see. I did not want to see Benfica leaving themselves exposed, because I believed Porto, if forced to build out of the back, would make mistakes. And of course, they try to play a short goal kick, which if I'm Sergio Conceição, I would not allow any of these with this team. They are not a tiki-taka side. What are they doing taking a goal kick that doesn't come out of the box? All their goal kicks should be played into open space up the pitch. But I'm glad they did it this way instead, because we pressed intelligently. Okay, not a full press. It was like a 3/4 press, intelligent. All right, and Marquezine plays it to Mbemba. Mbemba panics, gives it right back to Marquezine. Marquezine panics and first time kicks it out. He doesn't kick it well. He only gets it about 10 yards shy of midfield. Vertonghen is there. Vertonghen heads it. Okay, he heads it right to Grimaldo. And this is where Grimaldo is useful. This is what he does bring us, is in the attacking half of the pitch. We have to have a serious conversation, though, in the offseason of the pros and cons of Grimaldo's style of play and whether it hurts or helps us more, especially in big matches. But here Grimaldo comes up with it. He finds Everton. Everton does a brilliant turn. I mean, he gets himself in between a triangle of Porto players, okay? He gets between, and I remember it was Otavio, it was Uribe, and it was Sergio Oliveira, all three midfielders. He turns on them. He finds the space between them, beats him on the dribble, does a beautiful 1-2 give and go with Rafa. Rafa puts it back onto him. And then with Pep closing down, on the live shot, when I watched it the first time, it looked like he put it through Pep's legs. When I watched the match again, and I slowed this whole sequence down to look at it, to see exactly what happened, he actually bends it around Pep, believe it or not. And what happens is Pep outstretches his leg, but not quite far enough. Okay. I thought when I saw it live, Pep had overstretched his leg for the block, and the shot had gone in the gap. No, he actually does get it around Pep's hips. Okay. And he bends it, and Marquezine sees where Everton's coming from. He knows Everton puts that in the far post 9 times out of 10, and he cheats to the far post. Everton puts it in the near post, and I'm giving him credit for this. It does take a slight deflection, but I'm giving him credit for this because I think he meant to do this, because Marquezine jumps the gun a little bit, and if his head is up like a striker's head, they peek, not a striker, but a goal scorer and a good player will peek at goal before their eyes come back down on the ball and see their foot through the ball. I think from his positioning of his hips, he meant to put this in the near post. And he does. Marquezine cheats too far to the far post, and Everton puts it in the goal, and Benfica take the lead for the second time this season, the second time in a row. We get up early on Porto, and let me tell you, I jumped out of my seat and started screaming and started hollering. I was psyched. I started banging on this wall. I watched it right here in this seat. Started banging on this wall, and I said, here we go. Maybe we got this time. And a very nice goal for Everton Cebolinha, who has come alive as of late. Everton has finally found some form. He's looking more like the Everton I saw at Grêmio, the Everton that played for the Brazil national team. And I think if there's a plus side to his inconsistent and just underwhelming performances this season, is that I think I think, and I'm actually hoping, and this is selfish of me, this is as a Benfica supporter, I'm hoping he stays off of Brazil's Copa America roster, and I'm hoping he gets the long rest he needs. Okay, I'm hoping he gets this summer off to recover. He has been playing nonstop since the Brazilian League resumed in like May of last year, almost an entire year of football for Everton Cebolinha. And I hope that he gets some rest here and is not called to Copa America. That is my selfish outlook on it. Um, it'll do him better in the long run because I think if he comes in fresh next year, fresh and now with the understanding and with the adaptation he's made, he could have a big season next year and maybe be in Teats' plans for the World Cup rather than the Copa America. And I think if he goes to Copa America, it's just dragging on this season, and he's going to come into next season behind. He's going to come in fatigued, maybe even injured, and I think it could set him back. I hope, and I think this Friday, tomorrow, is when Tite is announcing the Brazil roster for the Copa America. I hope Everton Cebolinha's name, honestly, selfishly, is not there. But if you could go up 1-0, it's a good play. But 26th minute, it's the foul I talked about a little bit ago. Grimaldo, a stupid foul on Marega, who's dribbling out of bounds. He is literally about to go over the end line with his dribble because Marega is a strong physical force, but he is not an intelligent footballer. Okay. When the obvious is not available to him, he kind of starts to go towards the corner and hope that someone's going to bail him out with some sort of foul or that a teammate's going to get into his line of sight and be able to bail him out with an outlet pass. But here he's about to go out of bounds, and nope, Grimaldo bails him out by kicking the back of his legs for absolutely no reason. 28th minute, 2 minutes later, Manafá curls one into Taremi, but Elton gets there first, and this one was very, very close. Fortunately, Taremi's run was to the center of the goal and not towards the near post. I don't understand why he didn't run to the near post. You could see from a mile away that's where Manafá's ball was going. He didn't make the correct run. Again, this is the guy that a analyst who I consider a very well-respected and very intelligent football man considers the best striker in Portugal, but he makes the absolute wrong run here. And Elton is able to get there just a half step in front of him because he went just a half step left instead of a half step right. And in the 30th minute, here's the key. This is a key moment in the match that really lets us down. Okay. And it is, unfortunately, it is the referee. It is Soares Dias. Weigl comes in and commits his first foul. Nothing serious, no studs showing, just a little tap. It's a very normal foul in the middle of the pitch. And Sergio Oliveira goes down like he's been shot, of course. And Soares Dias shows the yellow card immediately. I mean, I don't even think the whistle had stopped ringing in your ear before the card was out. Absolutely, like he was just waiting for Weigl to make his first foul so he could book him and condition him. I mean, Julian Weigl, for everything you can say to criticize him, and that has been said to criticize him, he's had a lot to work through. Okay, there's a language barrier. There's a language barrier even with the Portuguese players. Let's be honest with this manager. That's the long running joke, is that there's the language barrier no matter what language you speak with Jorge Jesus. But there is an adaptation to a style of play he has, clearly has had no experience prior coming into, and playing in a role that he was not familiar with, not groomed to play. And he's had to deal with all that, and he's had to deal with the criticism as well. But one thing nobody can say is that he's a dirty player, yet what is this, his 13th yellow card, I think? I think it was his 13th yellow card. Let me see here. I'm going to pull it up right now because I have it in front of me. Julian Weigl has his stats this season. 10th. This was his 10th yellow card. Okay. Unbelievable. This player who commits probably has, let's see if it tells me here how many fouls he's committed this year. It doesn't say that here on FOTMOB, but he's probably committed 15 or 20 fouls, and he's got 10 yellow cards. Okay. Again, much different criteria. Otavio commits as many fouls in one match as Weigl has all season in the Weigl's one city. on 10 yellow cards. Changes everything. 34th minute, and Otavio with a rare moment of nice football as he plays a nice back heel on to Taremi as he gets on the end of a diagonal from, I believe it's from Manafa. And he back heels it right onto the path of Taremi. The Iranian shoots, but fortunately, Benfica's back three are well positioned, and Vertonghen is in the perfect spot to block the shot. Danger averted. Now, 45 plus 2, key moment in the match. Okay, and one of the reasons Benfica's XG is so low, as you saw in the goal point, is a play like this one. Okay, so Benfica break out on the counter, and my man Pizzi, who I'll defend when I think he needs defending, but I'm also going to criticize when he needs to be criticized. This one's on him. He hesitated that extra half second that allowed Porto, and I think it was Pep, because Pep, for as much of a thug as he is on the pitch, is one of the smartest footballers in the world. That's why he's still playing at this level at age 38. He beats Pizzi in a sense that he steps before Pizzi delivers the pass. That split second of indecision puts Rafa offside. Rafa has to go. He can't stand still and then wait. He has to start his run. Rafa goes down. He's wide open, and actually, was it Mbemba who runs him down? It might have been Mbemba, but I think it was Pep who put him offside. I'm not 100% certain. Maybe it was Mbemba. Now my memory is fogging, but the foul occurs outside the box. Okay, which, man, I wish there was another defender there, because if Rafa's running and there's a defender in front of him and that foul happens, that is a foul. It's a yellow card offense, and there is no VAR review, and we have a direct kick at the top of the area. Unfortunately, because Rafa's in daylight and there's nobody in front of him, and the referee calls the foul, now you have to go to VAR because it's outside the area, which means it's a red card offense. So because there was no defender in front of Rafa, making this a clear scoring opportunity, it actually hurts Benfica because it prompts the VAR review. And then we see Rafa 19 centimeters offside. Nobody wants to talk about this because nobody wants to bring into, well, none of us have been in a VAR booth, okay? But we've all seen there's enough talented photoshoppers on the internet to make anything look either offside or not offside. And, the line shows 19 centimeters. I don't know how accurate that is. I have a hard time believing that you can even pinpoint the distance of that to that small of a unit, that small of a measurement. I mean, the problem I have now with VAR in the way it's implemented, in the old days, this was onside all day because it was considered even. It's impossible to be even if you're going down to the centimeter. It's literally impossible to be completely even when it comes down to when you can narrow it down to 1 centimeter. So there's no advantage for the attacker like there used to be. And it's also pretty impossible to pause on the exact frame where the ball is played because, again, if you're looking for a frame with space green between the foot and the ball, that's not where the ball was played. There's milliseconds there, and it's just not accurate. It may be very, very close, but it's not 100% accurate, which means that you cannot, in my opinion, prove that he's offside in this situation, and therefore the call on the field should have stood, in my opinion, and the VAR should have only been reviewed so that it was not a penalty and that the free kick was outside the box. But that's not the way it's utilized. That's how I would like to see it utilized, even against us. I'll be on, even against us, okay? Even against us. I think that that's the way it should be viewed, because I don't believe it is possible to get it down to that exact of a millisecond of when the ball was played and where the player was. Plus, FIFA and IFAB have done a bad job of clarifying exactly what is an offside. Is it a knee? Is it does a hand count? Does the player's nose count? Like, we don't know. Okay, they have not been clear. They need to be very explicit and very clear so that it's not the way it is right now, where each country has its own interpretation of an offside when looking at VAR. Because I guarantee you, in England, that goal, that not that goal, but that is not called offside, and we have a free kick and we play against 10 for the remaining 45 minutes, but it wasn't meant to be. It goes the other way. It's halftime. All right, second half. Now, Benfica in the lead, as you know, Otavio with an open hand, a full swing slap on Lucas Verissimo. He still has not been booked, Otavio. Okay. And I'm going to quickly skim through the rest of the match, and I don't think Otavio even gets booked in this match. It's amazing what that guy gets away with. No, Otavio doesn't even get booked, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Lucas Verissimo is holding the ball and disagreeing with the call, and yeah, he can't do that. But Otavio comes and slaps him, open hand, slaps his arm to get the ball from him. You can't do that either. Suarez Diaz has no interest in doing anything with that. And again, he gets away with another one. All right, now for me, the key moment of the match here, and this is where JJ has to take responsibility. Okay, because I think this is mismanagement and misdecision. And I heard BTV and I heard the Twitter world that the the JJ fanboys, if you will, and I try to be as balanced and as fair as I can with the manager. I have been on coaching staffs, okay, where we have been criticized, and I have been on coaching staffs where we could do no wrong in the eyes of some people, okay? There are hard decisions that have to be made in the event of a match, okay, in the course of a match. JJ had to make one here. Weigl is booked. JJ we're losing the midfield. Elder Kundut is saying that the game is calling for Tarapt and for Gabriel. And I actually agree that the game was calling for Tarapt. Okay, you may be surprised to hear this, but I actually agreed that it was time for Tarapt to come on. I like him in this instance. Okay, it's minute 67. You get him with his energy for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. I like that. And I think he showed why this is a good role for him. It may not be the one he wants, but it's, in my opinion, what's best for our team and our club is for Tarapt to be used in this way. So Tarapt comes on for Rafa, who literally couldn't run anymore because he had just been assaulted by he'd just been assaulted by Pep. I think I forgot to write that down. And Pep completely nailed. Yeah, Pep gets a yellow card in the 63rd. 4 minutes later, Rafa can't continue. And I guess I'll backtrack to that play first, because here is another instance where VAR should have been used. Okay. Pep comes in with his studs up. He leaves the ground on this tackle. He doesn't break Rafa's leg because he missed. But, however, the rules of the game, okay, when dealing with violent conduct, you do not have to make contact for it to be violent conduct. If you walk up to a player, close your fist, and swing a haymaker, and you miss, you're still getting sent off. It's not about whether or not you made contact. You don't get to try to throw a punch or a karate kick to the head, and if you miss, you're off the hook with a yellow card. That's not how it works. He goes in an absolutely dangerous manner, okay? And he could very easily have ended Rafa's season and really put his career in jeopardy if this tackle lands. Fortunately, he misses, and he catches Rafa with his sliding leg, his back leg in the slide, rather than with his lead leg and with the studs and with the weight of his body on the bottom of his sole of his foot. Okay, so he sees yellow, but VAR should have been consulted. Suarez Diaz should have been made to go to the screen. to watch this because that is a red card. That is violent conduct. There is no way around that. And Portistas are never going to agree with this, but it is what it is, and that is violent conduct. And don't come and pull out a clip from a match in 2012 where one of our guys did, where guy does the same thing or something like that. Okay, we're talking about this match because if you're gonna do that, we're gonna go back and we're gonna review every single penalty kick Mehdi Taremi has drawn this season. And if we go on that precedent, then when Diogo Gonçalves just goes down, you have a case for a penalty. I agree that the VAR got it right. That's not a penalty. Okay. But I fully 100% would feel comfortable betting everything I own and everything I have in this world that if it was at the other end, it would have been pointing to the spot. Even with VAR, it would have been upheld and Porto would have had a penalty kick. Okay. Absolutely, because history has told me that is a penalty for them. In this situation, this needs to be a red card. This is not a caution. This is violent conduct. He's leading with his studs. He just happens to miss. You do not have to make contact to constitute violent conduct, and this changes the game once again. So it's yellow for Pep. We do nothing with the set piece. And Rafa's got to come off injured. On comes Tarapte. I like that one. That one made sense. However, if JJ's worried about Uli and Weigl being booked and he doesn't trust the referee and he knows Porto are egging him on, listen, there are times where you have to just pull the player aside and remind him he can, and Uli Weigl is not used to this kind of dirty tactics, okay? In Germany, when Bayern play Dortmund, they don't play like this. They don't try to get each other sent off. They play football and they try to outplay each other and they try to score more goals, okay? So this is still, he's been in Portugal a year and a half, but this is still outside of his wheelhouse, okay? This is still outside of his nature and his way of playing the game. But he has to understand that this is a key crunch moment. We are holding a 1-0 lead by the thread of what's the expression? By the skin of our teeth. Okay. What he cannot do is what he did and sub on Gabriel, who is not a holding midfielder even remotely. He is not a good positional player. Gabriel is good at playing balls into dangerous spaces and breaking lines. He's good at applying high pressure. That's not what you're going to be doing in the last 20 minutes of this match, the last 23 minutes. I know Weigl is on a yellow card, but you cannot make that kind of a mistake when you are Jorge Jesus and you have that pedigree and you have won titles now in Portugal and in Brazil, and you've won the Copa Libertadores with all the tactics in South America and with all the, the antics and, quite honest, a lot of people will say the unsportsmanlike or the ungentlemanlike tactics that they use. Very, very similar to Porto plays that exact style that they use in South America, okay? He has to know he has to trust his guy in this situation because, honestly, I think I would have rather Weigl stayed in the match another 10 minutes and got sent off on a second yellow. And we play with 10, and then you make that substitution 10 minutes later than doing what he did and just giving it away. Now you have PZ, Gabriel, and Tarapte as your three center midfielders. How can I, as a onlooker, as a former coach, as someone who played this game in the midfield, knowing what I know and what I've learned over the years, how can I really put any blame on those three players for not being able to hold off Porto's midfield and for not being able to hold a result when none of those players have the characteristics that you need in that situation? Yes, it was a bad situation, and JJ had a half a second to think about it, probably. But João de Deus, he's the young guy. He's the one that's more nuanced. Maybe JJ doesn't listen. I don't know. Okay, that substitution should not have happened. 73rd minute and actually 67th minute. Still another problem with this substitution. I noted this again. I spent a good 2 hours last night. I was up late. Okay, spent a good 2 hours on these last 20 on this portion of the match, just watching it over and over. I would watch one guy. I'd watch the entire sequence, watch what one guy did, watch the entire sequence with what another guy did. Okay, sometimes um I could not have done a post game show on this one. There was just too much to look at because I didn't see this the first time. Obviously, I saw it the 10th, but he makes a substitution when we are defending a corner. You can never, in my opinion, do that. That is, unless it's the final minute of the game and you're subbing on a tall defender and taking out an attacker and you're adding a body into the area. No, you're taking out two players that need to mark, and you're bringing on two more. So you're not just, your defense doesn't just have to, and your goalkeeper doesn't just have to position one guy and tell him. I'm going to put this comment up on the screen here. This is from my good friend Alfredo. And yes, I do. I do put myself through a lot of torture. And I do want to, I just want explanations sometimes. And this substitution on a defensive corner, it is Tarap's man. And I'm not blaming Tarap on this one. It is Tarap's man. I think Tarap lined up with Taremi. Maybe it wasn't him. But Taremi's wide open at the back post. But fortunately, he heads it over the bar. Okay, the moment now, 73rd minute. Taremi draws a foul on Gabriel. Again, out of his element, trying to hold a result here, especially for a player who's played as little as he has this season. He's played so little this season. And this is such a high-pressure situation. It doesn't matter that nobody's in the stands, in my opinion, at this one, because these players are locked in. Okay, this is a rivalry match that you have to win. You're hearing JJ the whole match, right? He fouls Taremi, and Taremi basically does what he always does. He gets positioning, then he slows down and lets you run into his back. The free kick doesn't hurt us because it hits the wall and it goes out. Okay, it goes off of Lucas Verissimo, and actually Lucas Verissimo probably saves the goal by heading it out. Ensuing corner kick, okay? And this is where, again, I spent, and as Alfredo said, I tortured myself here because I watched this and I wanted to see what everyone was doing. So the corner kick is cleared by Benfica away. It goes out the far side, but doesn't go out off the pitch. João Mario, who had just come on, gets the ball, okay? João Mario, the first guy to answer is Tarap, which, again, I'm not going to blame him here because this is not where you want Tarap stepping out wide to defend a guy one-on-one. But we all learn when we're 8 years old that you contain, okay? Benfica's backline, and in this play, Gabriel is behind, actually, the back three in this play. I paused it so many times. He's behind the back three. And the defensive line retreats because they're expecting the cross to come in the air, and they're going to step to it, clear it wide, either right or left. They're gonna step to it and they're gonna see the ball in, and they're gonna step forward to try to win it, because when you're defending, you don't want to be backpedaling, you want to be coming forward. So they retreat. Problem is, Tarap gets beat on the dribble. And now, because Porto's players are drifting towards the penalty area, Benfica's players are drifting towards the goal. It creates a space there. João Mario plays a nice ball in. Literally all of that Uribe does is walk from about 5 meters from the far left to the center, to the penalty spot, turns his hips, the ball is there, and he buries it beautifully, and Porto are level. And again, it is... Gabriel should not be behind the defenders on this play. That line has to get out and pick up the next line of guys coming in, the late arriving players. But I think what they were doing is they're getting ready to come out for a ball that is going to be whipped in or crossed in. Romariu's got it on his right foot, so it's going to be an outswinger. So they think they got time to get out there. And what they do instead is they don't have the chance to do that because Romariu beats Taarabt on the dribble. And again, this midfield was never going to be able to hold this result. Okay. No, this isn't beautiful football. This isn't the football that Benfica want to see. This is not the attitude they want. I get all of that. But in this circumstance and in this situation, I told my wife this podcast was going to take an hour. We're already over an hour. We got one more game still to talk about. But Benfica's three center midfielders are not in the area they need to be. Of course, if you listen to Visão Vermelha, it's also a very good podcast. It's in Portuguese, but they had Armando Sá on breaking this down. And Alfredo saying so many fundamentals missing. Exactly. Armando Sá really got into detail on what each player should have done in this situation. He was once a right back for Benfica in some of those dark years. You know, he was there when I guess Vietnam ended when we won that Taça against Porto, and that was his final season. But he explained, and you know, it's players are all in the wrong place in this, and he explains it much better than I can. So if you want to hear that, go back, find Visão Vermelha wherever you listen to podcasts. Okay, the one that's got Armando Sá. It says right in the title that he joins them, and listen to his analysis of this play and of this goal, and he breaks down exactly what went wrong. Porto then are going, you know, they are coming forward. Yes, I think a draw was the worst that they would have hoped for, but they made offensive-minded substitutions, okay? And they were leaving that left side, the right side of their defense wide open, and the substitution for us of the match that changed everything was bringing on Darwin. He went into that space. And I'm wondering, why have we been playing Darwin as a out-and-out number 9, okay? Or trying to pair him with Seferovic, which, you know, we saw in this match and then in the Nacional match after what Darwin can bring to you. Okay. And I think all season we're trying to use players in ways and in roles that they're not good at. Okay. And you want to set your team up to succeed by putting players in a position to do what they do. Yeah, sometimes players, you know, a more experienced player may have to take on a role he's less comfortable with and have to adapt. But a kid, just because you slap that $24 million tag on him does not turn him into Edison Cavani. And I feel like all season, JJ was hoping he'd turn into Edison Cavani. But here he gets in behind and he starts to exploit that space. All right. Porto don't really have much of a chance to score. They really don't have any dangerous positions. We keep them at distance. We let them have the ball. I'm okay with that, especially at this stage, okay, where we need to counter and we need them to come forward. The first key play, he goes down the left and he squares it to Taarabt, and my man Taarabt, okay, he hits a beautiful left-footed shot, okay? For everything I've said to him, and I said this to Neil in the pregame show because he commented on that Taarabt was going to score the winner, and I said, when he scores the winner, I will take back everything I ever said. And I thought he was going to do it here. And I don't know how Marquezine manages to save a low-driven shot like that. And he saves it and parries it down onto the ground, it looks like, unintentionally. It takes a bounce, goes up, hits the bar, and stays out. That is the worst luck I can think of possibly in that situation. The shot was well taken. A minute later, Pizzi has a chance. Again, it's Darwin. Pizzi tries to flip it over Manafa and bring it down onto. He's facing the goal with his hips turned towards goal, so the ball's coming on his left. He needs to turn. He's trying to flip it up onto his right foot, and when he does that, Manafa gets in between and pokes it away. But then 92, here it comes. And it is Darwin again. And this time he holds up, he cuts back like he's going to shoot. Defender's well positioned, so he can't shoot. The lane's not there, but he sees Diogo Gonçalves coming in. Diogo Gonçalves is at the top of the area. He draws the defenders out, okay? And he slides it with a brilliant first-time pass, okay? A very nice nicely timed pass right onto Peasy. Peasy at the far post. And he looks up and he puts it in the only place he could put it to score, and he beats Marquezine. And I'm telling you, I went crazy. I jumped out of my seat. I ran outside screaming. I slid on my knees in my jeans in the yard. Okay. And I literally did one of these. After I'm like this, I said, they're going to find something wrong with that. I said to myself, my heart rate was probably at like 180. Okay. It was in the cardio zone. And I come back in, and already I see Lancey Ali's. The play is under review. And unbelievably, it just, you could see it coming. And yeah, I mean, according to the replay, again, it's hard to say. And Alfredo and Cristiano talked about this on their show this week. And, Cristiano said that you can't prove that he was onside. You can't prove that he wasn't. I feel like that means the call on the field should have stood. Now, when you watch it again, the Porto players put their arms up out of habit. But when the ball's in the back of the net, there's not one person complaining. When have you ever seen the ball go in the net and Porto not complain? Sergio Conceição has his head down. Pep is laying flat on his face, feeling like they just lost it. They were defeated for a moment. But then the VAR comes in, and, Suarez Diaz, he gets the smirk was there for just a millisecond, but you could see the relief in his face that he could call that back. And I think it was more relief than it was like happiness. I don't think I'm going to put this up on the screen here. Alfredo just said it, and he's right. It looks a lot. It looked onside live, and it did look closer than Rafa, even though the measurement said 30 centimeters, I think, on this one, and 19 on Rafa's. But man, I thought VAR was going to be good for this game. And again, the guys on Benfica FM said you can't celebrate a goal ever again because you just don't know that it's going to stand. And we saw, JJ in the presser talked about the Real Madrid game, and that was in this week's presser against Nacional, where you think you have a penalty kick at one end and it ends up being a penalty kick at the other because you rolled the tape back a minute. That happened to Portugal against Switzerland. I'll never forget. That was the first time I saw that in the UEFA Nations League, the Final Four. But yeah, and that's the game, guys. That is Benfica 1, Porto 1. And again, I'll bring up the goal point. We can look at the ratings here and see how these guys did. We talked about the starting lineups. And so Marquezine 4.7. You see the XGs. Porto with a 1.2 XG. Benfica 0.3. But this is very much influenced by the negated plays, the anulados, the penalties that were called back. And so that would be much different if not for those reviews. And it is, I mean, again, this is just a disappointing way to lose the game. But we've got Manafá 4.0, Mbemba 5.5, Pep 4.8, Zaidu 5.4, Otavio with the 6.8 and no yellow card somehow. Sergio Oliveira 5.5. Uribe, man of the match. I don't think anyone can dispute that. He's played all. I went back and looked. He has just had he's had 6 5s, 7s. Here he has an 8.6. He's just played well against Benfica every single time. You'd think we kind of have a better plan for it by now. Luis Diaz 6.8, Taremi and Marega 5.1 and 5.9 respectively. There you see Tony Martinez and Andrew Mario's ratings 5.3 and 5.9. Elton Late was a 5.3 in goal. Diogo Gonçalves with a 5.2. Lucas Veríssimo 5.6. He's the highest rated of the center backs. Otamendi 5.4. Vertonghen 5.5. Grimaldo gets a 5.9. But this algorithm must not include times you get dribbled because he gets dribbled far too easy. Weigl 4.1, not a good outing for him. Very conditioned, and he does not do well. It's become clear to teams in the league he does not do well once on a yellow card. And I understand the substitution, but again, I think it was a big mistake for the reasons I've already pointed out. Pizzi 4.9, Rafa 5.2, and Seferovic 5.0. And then you see off the bench Gabriel 4.7, Tarap 4.9. And I actually think Tarap deserved a higher rating in this one. And you all know how I typically feel about him, but I like him in the substitute role. I really do. I think that he is dangerous that way, and he brings something different. He changes the look of Benfica. When he plays from the start, I think he's so concerned with gassing out that he's trying to save himself perhaps to last longer. And in the meantime, you don't get those 30 good minutes from him. You just get 60 or 70 minutes from him. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break here. When I come back, okay, for those of you listening on the podcast, you're going to get some music here. If you're on YouTube, I'll be right back. We'll get into the game with Nacional real quickly, and then I'm going to have to wrap it up. All right, this is Mr. Benfica, episode 112. And I am the Mr. Mike Agustino. You see my handle there. Go ahead and give me a follow. If you're watching on YouTube, do subscribe. If you're watching on Periscope, then you're watching on my Twitter. I hope you're following by now. Also on Instagram at Mr. Benfica. I'll be right back. And welcome back to Mr. Benfica, episode 112. Let's quickly go down Benfica versus Nacional here. And I'll use FOTMob for this one. Okay, Nacional's lineup, they're playing 4-4-3, excuse me, for Manuel Machado. The goalkeepers Antonio Felipe, Ruben Freitas, Pedro Henrique, Julio Cesar, and Lucas Cal across the back. Ibrahim Al Hassan in the center, anchoring with Larry Azuni and Eber Bessa to each side. Pedro Mendes is the striker with João Vigario and Brian Riascos as the strikers. For Benfica, they would go with their 4-4-2 that they use when they don't have all three central defenders available. Again, very predictable. This has been a very predictable team all season, and it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. Elton Leit's in goal. Gilberto is in. He's in place of the suspended Diogo Gonçalves. Lucas Verissimo and Nicolas Otamendi are the center back pairing. Nuno Tavares gets a rare start at left back. In midfield, Pedrinho and Weigl. Actually, it should be Chiquinho and Weigl in the center, with Pedrinho to one side, Chervi to the other, and up front, Seferovic and Waldschmidt. And, I think JJ made too many changes in this game, and I understand why he did. He basically gave these guys a final chance to prove something. And he gave some guys a chance to rest and to recover for the weekend's derby, right? I think he knew Sporting were going to win later this day. They were going to celebrate. They were going to be out all night, and that could affect them on Saturday, but believe it or not, I know a lot of times people don't realize, but that throws off the circadian rhythm. That throws off their training regiment, that throws off their recovery. And I think JJ kept that in mind when he kept some guys out. Problem is, when you put too many French players in together, there's no chemistry there. Okay, these guys all have too few minutes to really make the most of the opportunity. And it sounds like we could see some of these guys move on, but Chiquinho for me, anytime I again, I feel like I've praised him when I need to. I feel like I've criticized him when I need to. But one thing I don't think he will ever be is a first 11 for Benfica. Okay, I think he can be a very good substitute. Whether or not the club or he are willing to accept that role is a whole different discussion. And part of the reason he's a better substitute is he comes in and he's surrounded by better players. Okay. Uh, Chervi, I think, should have been. I really think what happened with Diogo Salles, I think the same effort should have been made with Franco Chervi this season. I know he's not as young, but I think he may have been a more serviceable left back. And you could have very easily played with him in the back and Grimaldo further up the pitch so he doesn't have to defend as much. But that was not what JJ had in mind. I understand that. I think we need a left back. I've said that I think that is one of our key plays. We need a left back, a 6 and an 8. But we've been saying that season after season after season. So I don't know that we're going to get any of that. We'll see when the off season comes. But Nuno Tavares would show you in the second half his potential. This is a guy with huge potential. But he is, like we say about so many of these players, not so aware of things like positioning. And a lot of this, I think, comes from him having come through the Benfica Academy as an outside back where they never have to defend. I've felt all season like he needs a loan to a Moreirense or a Famalicão where he's going to have to defend and where they can afford to stick with him. Okay, where their goals are not to win the league, their goals are to maybe come in Europe, definitely not get relegated. So in that middle ground, there's a lot more leeway for players to make mistakes and mature. Again, Moreirense, Famalicão, Passos Ferreira, teams like that. I think that's where Nuno Tavares needs to go to learn the craft of defending. Okay, where he has to defend every match and where there's matches where he does not get to go forward. He's not going to forget how to attack. He's not going to forget how to go forward. He's a natural beast of an athlete, which we saw in the goal that he had that was called back, right? Again, because of VAR. I'm just going to fast forward to that because, again, they score in the. I'll start here. They score in the 8th minute. It is Henrique. It is Pedro Henrique who scores the goal, the defender, and he, again, Benfica suffer a goal that they shouldn't be surrendering. And I mean, they came out completely asleep. This was a disastrous first half. JJ makes the adjustments at halftime. Okay, we can't play a full match for some reason. We can play half a match. We can't play a full one. So at halftime, on comes Everton, Pizzi, and Grimaldo. Off comes Chervi, Chiquinho, and Pedrinho. Okay, and instantly you see a better Benfica. And in the 65th minute, on comes Darwin for Gilberto. Best substitution of the match, obviously. Benfica make a few adjustments. And, well, Darwin does what he's been doing as of late. And I'm wondering why we haven't kind of figured this out by now. 74th minute, on comes Gonçalo Ramos. We're losing at that time, okay? We are losing. We're trying to get Seferovic to score the goals, right? Seferovic is doing his thing, and he's missing horribly. I mean, this has been him all season. He might be joint top of the league scoring, but he's definitely top of the league in chances squandered. And why did it take 30? I tweeted this at the moment. Why did it take 32 weeks to try Darwin and Gonçalo Ramos? Well, it took 32 weeks to even gives Gonçalo Ramos a real run at it. And again, like he did last season. Who remembers last season against Desportivo das Aves? Darwin gets about 10 minutes of playing time and scores 2 goals. He gets 15 here and he's, scores 2 goals. This guy's a natural goal scorer, and I don't want to hype him up too much. And we don't want to put unnecessary pressure on him. But this guy should have been utilized a lot more. Why was he not the one that comes off the bench when we need a goal? He has such confidence and such such calmness in front of goal. He's so calm. That goal he scores, it's not just anybody who's going to bury that the way he did. I mean, we've seen Seferovic get the same exact opportunity. I mean, the first goal comes to Seferovic, okay? If not for him blasting it so wide that he hit, that thing was going to go out so wide had he not hit a defender who redirected it into the goal for him. It was the same Pedro Henrique that scored. So Pedro Henrique gets the goal at each end in this one. It's 1-1. 80th minute, Gonçalo Ramos scores with the real pretty one. And then in the 86th, he scores the one that was kind of a broken goal that kind of deflects and trickles over the line. But Darwin, 2 assists. Gonçalo Ramos, 2 goals. I'm not saying we start with those 2 in the Clásico. I say we go to in the derby this week. And I say we should go to those 2 in the derby. And I will do a pregame show before the derby on Saturday. So 12:30 Eastern time here in the United States. That's 5:30 in Portugal. I will do a live pregame show again, about a half hour. And hopefully maybe they'll play it in the locker room. No, they won't. But yeah, I'd love to think I have that kind of influence. I don't. But for whoever wants to watch, I will be live on Saturday before the match. Okay, to get ready for the derby, and hopefully we are going to beat Sporting and give them their one loss because I don't want to see them go undefeated. And I think I'm going to address the Guard of Honor then, okay, because we're running out of time here. We're going long. I'll address my thoughts on the Guard of Honor on Saturday, okay. I've been asked that, and I've actually, those of you that I've answered know my answer, but I've actually changed my mind. So I'll talk to you about that on Saturday. I'll hit on Nuno Santos and his antics, his scarf, and what I think of that. And yeah, we'll hit all that in the pregame show on Saturday. But let's go here and let's look at the table now. So it's basically all set and done here in Liga NOS for 2020-2021. And now, again, I hope a lot of our players are not included in summer tournaments this summer. I know you can expect Vertonghen to be called in. He's the captain of Belgium. Perhaps Otamendi and Verissimo. I don't know if Verissimo is on Brazil's short list or not. Perhaps Otamendi may be going to Argentina, but Weigl, I don't think is going to be playing for Germany. I highly doubt that. Same with Waldschmidt. I don't think either of the Portuguese players are going to be representing Portugal, to be honest. I just don't. I think there's just better options. So Darwin may be playing for Uruguay at Copa America, but I'm hoping that the majority of these guys do not go to their national teams this summer. So here's the table now after 32 rounds. Sporting, your champions elect. Well, listen, you get a leap year every 4 years. You get a comet every 10 years. A broken clock is right twice a day, but Sporting, you only get a Sporting title every 19 years. So I did actually send a message to my Sportingista family back in Portugal, something they've never done for me, and I did congratulate them because they were the best team and they deserve to win. And had they not won this and Porto won it, it would have been a complete robbery for the 72 penalty kicks Porto were awarded this season. So there you see them, 82 points for Sporting, Porto 74, Benfica 70. Pretty much that top 3 is locked up. Those are the teams going to the Champions League. Of course, we're going into the pre-round, so we get to start our preseason even earlier on a year where there's a Euro and a Copa America. That's about the worst possible year to be going in to that round, but that's where we are right now. Braga will go automatically to the Europa League because they will either go as the cup winner or as the 4th place team. And Passos de Ferreira is going to go into the Europa Conference League. And right now we have a battle of 4 teams, okay, separated by 2 points. This is the best match. This is the best race right now in Portugal. Vitória Guimarães, 42 points, but slipping. Another loss to Famalicão in this round. And Santa Clara with 40 points, they won. So they still have that outside shot with 2 matches to play to steal that 6th place. You can't see it here on SofaScore, but 6th place will be a Europa Conference spot because the cup spot that is reserved for the cup winner okay, is between Benfica and Braga, who are both already qualified. So it opens another spot for sixth place. It could be Vitória, it could be Santa Clara. Belenenses SAD are on the outside looking in. Can you imagine? I wonder where they would play their Europa Conference games. It wouldn't be at the Jamur. We'll see if they move to Grândola by next season. I would doubt that because I haven't heard anything since. Moreirense also in there with 40. So any one of those four teams realistically with a shot to get into the Europa Conference. Famalicão with a much longer shot, much further away. Gil Vicente are 11th with 36. Tondela 36 and 12th. Portimonense, they're going to be safe. It looks like with 34. Marítimo same. And then Rio Ave right now only 1 point above that playoff spot. Not where Miguel Castro wants to be. I've met Miguel Castro. I've had conversations, and when we used to have our Portuguese American Coaches Association, he hung out with us at the conventions. He's intense, but he's a good guy. But I can imagine he's going crazy with his players right now. Josualdo Ferreira's Boa Vista are 16th with 30 points. They're in a playoff spot. They'll play the third place team from the second division from the Liga Deutsch. And I said we'd talk about that today. I guess that's going to have to wait for the next episode. And Farense right now, all but assured of going down. They may be able to sneak into the playoff spot. We'll see. But Nacional, adios. See you later. Sayonara. Au revoir. You choose it. You choose the language you want to say goodbye to them. Don't take care, Nacional. Hope I see you never in the first division again. Their antics this year of not being willing to reschedule a match, not being willing to, but being willing to reschedule for other teams. And then, they can go. Okay. So here's the top scorers as I have here. Pedro Gonçalves, Pot, and Seferovic are joint with 18. Taremi's got 15. Mario Gonzalez, 15. Sergio Oliveira has 12. Beto, 11. Carlos Jr., 11. Mateo Casiera has 10. He's from Belenenses SAD. Ricardo Horta with 9. And he misses about as much as Seferovic does. So that's interesting that he made it on there. And Joel Taigo with 9. Down here, we can, I guess, show you I believe they have here, the team of the week. Here it is. The team of the week for round 32. Andrea Ferreira of Santa Clara is the goalkeeper. Fabio Cardoso of Santa Clara. I think is that an Andrea Santos? Aderlan Santos of Rio Ave and Leo of Marítimo, the foreign midfield. I don't know who picks these formations for these teams of the week, but Otavio's in the team of the week. Palinha's in the team of the week. David Simão, remember him? He was made in Seychelles, and he was a guy we could never find a place for. Also, Nuno Mendes also in the team of the week. You see their ratings there. Taremi with a near perfect rating in this week's easy victory for Porto over Farense. He's at 9.8. Obviously, he's the player of the week based on ratings. Gonçalo Ramos is in the team of the week. Congratulations to the kid. And Mateo Casiera. Okay. So that is pretty much going to wrap it up. Like I said, the things I didn't get to, I will hopefully remember to get to on Saturday in the pregame show. Thank you to everyone who's watching. I have a few more messages here, so I'm going to play them. They just came in. So here we have João Coutinho. Says, doesn't seem that Vieira and Jorge Jesus are going anywhere. At least one more. I agree. And then he says, wake up, Benfica. I don't think they're going anywhere. Jorge Jesus is definitely not going anywhere because it'd be too expensive to get rid of him. And he's got the excuse of COVID built in. I think he knew that coming in case things went wrong. He knew he had his trump cards in his back pocket in case. And again, there's also the argument of if not him, who? This is our third manager in short time, and the problems are the same. So for me, the problems they're more structural. They're at a higher level. Vieira just won an election with almost a 2/3 majority. I mean, maybe the fans are going to try to force him out. I don't know. He seems to be very good at averting things like that. I don't really want to see this club turn into what happened at Sporting, but in the end, who was right? They ran Bruno Carvalho out of the club, and look where they're standing now. As much as they don't like Varandas, and as much as they want him out, he's won them a title. And if you care about modalidades like I do, he's won 2 European Champions Leagues in futsal. He's won a hockey championship. His basketball team just wiped the floor with us. I started out the episode talking about that. They wiped the floor with us today, and they wiped the floor with us at everything right now. So we'll see what happens this weekend. Hopefully, things turn out in our favor. Don't forget, Classico Saturday. Okay, it's a 1 p.m. Eastern time start here in the United States on the East Coast. That's 10 a.m. on the West Coast, and that's 6 p.m. or 18 hours in Portugal. Also, this weekend we've got hockey, Benfica versus Sporting European semifinals, and the women's team returns to action against Condeixa, must-win match before they face Sporting next week for the title. All right, I'm not going to get into whether or not there'll be fans in the final season. I think we still have time for that. I'm not going to get into the Champions League going to Porto. If you haven't heard, I tweeted this on Tuesday that I had with good authority that it was going to be announced today on Thursday. It was in fact announced today on Thursday. The Champions League final has been moved to the Stadio do Dragão. Doesn't really just concern us, but all of a sudden the league now has an interest in having fans in the stadium. We'll get to that next week. So that's going to do it here. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you to Alfredo. Thank you to João. Thank you to everybody who participated and everybody watching on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. I'll see you guys next weekend. Also, don't forget to go to MrBenfica.com and look around. I've got some written pieces there. I've also got old episodes. And follow me on YouTube. Okay, hit the subscribe button so you'll know every time that I put out any content. Okay, again, I'll see you Saturday, 12:30 Eastern time here in the United States. 5:30 p.m. 5:30 p.m. Portuguese Standard Time for a pregame. I'll preview the derby with Sporting, and that's going to do it for episode 112. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next time. This has been Mr. Benfica. I am the Mr. Mike Agostinho, signing off.